Whoa, that was weird. All right, so it looks like our container's up and running. Let's double check that our website is actually up and running. 4,000. So let's do a little bit of planning out of how. So luckily, this workflow we'll be able to kind of like play with this, prototype this out fairly easy at first, or we know where we're going to hook in. So let's go over with the architecture of the application real quick. It's a fairly straightforward application in terms of its architecture. Um, if we go to as we know, we have this UI that uses the Chrome web API to do the speech to text. The speech to text is then published over a WebSocket to the server, where this controller, this channels controller class, whatever you want to call it, receives that event. So here it receives the speech to text event coming in hot. And then from there, we have some metadata like final text or interim text. We try to do some profanity filtering, and then from there, we send an authenticated request to the Twitch API via PubSub, via their PubSub message API. So in here, what we could do is somewhere in here, for prototype's sake, is we want to send the final text to the Azure service to translate for translation, and then after the stream, I'm listening just for lurking for now. Yeah, no problem. And I see it. Cool. So yeah, so send the final text to Azure service for translation. And then what we do, response, format response, and send it as part of the and add it to the message. Add it to the message payload. So yeah, so we have this payload object that is a message. All it sends right now is final and interim. What we could do next is we can send like translation, and this could be an object in here, and like translations, and this can be an object, and this could be like the Spanish, and it has the text in there, blah 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 blah, and that's what we send. So that's kind of what I was thinking for the game plan of how we would send it. What we first need to do is we need to figure out how to do number one here. This is the first part, sending the text to Azure service for translation. We just want to get that information. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to tackle. So let's start diving in and figuring things out. I've only skimmed this documentation, so we're going to be learning together and fumbling a lot together. So hopefully not leaking any API keys together. So the translation text API is easy to integrate in your application's website. Okay, blah, blah, blah. It allows you to add multi-languages to your user experience in more than 60 languages and can be used in any hardware platform. Okay. The translation text data is part of the Azure Cognitive Service API collection for machine learning and API algorithms in the cloud. Okay, so about Microsoft Translate is cloud-based. Okay, speech translation is powered by the Translation Text API. It's also available through the Microsoft Speech Service. It combines functionality. So it's okay, interesting. Language support, so multi-language support for translation, transliteration, language detection. And see the language support for a complete list of access lists programmatically with the REST API. So let's see. So Microsoft Translation Neural Network. So talking about like the higher level stuff, language customization, an extension of the core language translation service. Custom translator can be used in conjunction with the translation text API to help customize neural translation systems to improve the translation. Okay, whatever. All right, so that's our overview. Let's go to the quick starts. Translate text. We're going to be writing this in. I'm thinking we're going to be writing this in Ruby. So this is going to be a little interesting. We can look at potentially a Node. Well, let's see. Let's look at the Node.js application or Node.js example. And we'll also see if there's a library we can use for Ruby. And there might be. Because I don't want to do this in the front end. I want to do this all in the back end just to protect API keys and all that type of stuff. And so people don't muck with the payloads. So in this course, you'll learn how to translate text string from English to Italian and German using Node.js and the translator text REST API. This quick start guide, it requires the account with the translator text resource. If you don't have an account, you can use a free trial. So let me make sure I have the account first. All right, then I'm actually set up for this. So new tab. Azure Research, you create a subscription. I think I should have everything. Create a cognitive source. So, okay. Actually, let's go through here. Let's so I don't need to hide this part. Valid Azure service subscription. I do have one. What I'll do is I'll log into Azure on my other computer or on my other browser, on my Firefox browser. And that'll protect me as we go through these process. So we're going to. So I think I already have a resource. All resources. Okay, so I already have a resource group, and I already had created a stream CC translator. Looks like so cognitive services, see all, AI machine learning. Get keys for your resource. After creating your resource, you can access the Azure dashboard. If you pinned it, otherwise you can find the resource group. Configure. So let me go. So creating resource group. After selecting your resource, you can get the keys by selecting the keys under the resource management. So let me go into stream CC resource group. And then there's supposed to be a option. Find the resource. Selecting your resource, you can go to the keys by selecting keys under resource management. Monitoring cost management settings. Hold on. Otherwise, you can find it in resource. You can access it from the dashboard. So I am in the resource group. Where's my keys? Access control? No. Events, deployments, policies, properties, cost. Sorry, I got distracted looking at another message. Under resource management. Where's resource management? Manage. Cost management. How about keys? Overview. Let me go here. Okay. So I created the CC translator or the service. So I'll just show it briefly here. So I created the Stream CC translator, and then it actually has this quick start guide on there. Congratulations, your keys are ready. So that's actually really convenient. So every call translator text API, so what it says is every call in the translator text API requires a subscription key. This needs to be either passed through a query string parameter or specified in the request header. You can find your keys in the API resources overview or keys from the left menu. There it is. Okay. And then let me undo my Azure mask. These subscription keys are used for your Cognitive Service API. Do not share these keys. Store them securely. For example, Azure Store Key Vault. We also recommend generating these keys regularly. Only one key is necessary to make an API call. Okay, so we're going to securely store this key. We're going to store it in our encrypted file that stores keys for our service. So got to remember how to do that first. Where's the additional commands? Okay. I forget what the command is. I'm trying to see notes custom Webpacker. Let me see, Rails secure. We can look up the commands right here. So Rails credentials edit. So this is going to open up an encrypted file that I can safely store my keys in. That seems a bit dangerous on stream. Well, this is why we're going to do this. So Rails credentials :edit. Okay, so that opened up the credentials file. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in Azure into here. And then we're going to add a key for cognitive services. copy and paste that in. And we'll save that. New credentials saved and encrypted. So make sure to clear the console. Now we're back. So now we have it saved in an encrypted file for us to use. It's nice that Rails actually added that in, so we can do stuff. We can do development securely without leaking it. Well, without leaking keys if we're not too careful. As long as we're careful. I mean, you actually have to try to do it, like accidentally print out stuff. So make an API call to this endpoint, API cognitive Microsoft.com, blah, blah, blah. Issue token. Get in-depth information about the properties and methods APIs. And then, okay, so all we need is that token. We already created our service. Now let's go back to the guide as we're going through here. Okay, so everything's set up. Create a new project using blah, blah, blah. We're creating a translate text.js. This is generating some unique UUID. Set the subscription key. This code will try to read your translator text subscription key from the environment variable translator text key. If you're not familiar with this environment variable, you can set subscription key as, okay, so it's the key we just set, I believe. So this is just doing some checks. Okay, so this is what's important. Actually doing this request here. So let's start. So either we can try to roll. I'm glad that this is actually just what do you call it? Just RESTful, just doing the REST API. Let's see if there is a Ruby gem for this. Ruby gems. And we'll do Azure Ruby client. So it's there is something. Let's actually see if it's worthwhile to use. SDK, Ruby SDK for Azure resource for Azure region build, manage an Azure cloud infrastructure, compute, storage using Ruby. It's 100% active. It's actually under the Azure namespace or org. Even better. So this project provides a Ruby package for Azure management, resource management. Or if you're looking for Azure service management, no, Azure resource management preview. Started using resource manager. Whoa, there's a lot of gems to use. Maybe we'll just go with the RESTful implementation. Azure Management Cognitive Service. That's the gem for the cognitive service. Okay, so getting started. Let's just read through this guide just to see what happens. Let's see. Maybe it's not that difficult. So installing it, be aware that Azure Regional Ruby SDK is a preview and will likely have breaking interface changes in upcoming releases, increased number of minor version. Okay, well, okay. This is in preview, so maybe we won't implement this or we won't use this because it's in preview and they're already warning that there's going to be breaking changes. So we'll just skip over this then. And we'll just just write a class that will do the web requests for us. So let's go to services, and we can look at the Twitch API service for our for inspiration. Potentially. The inspiration's kind of lacking, but whatever. I don't know. I'm already not happy with my own code. Haha. I always want to find a different way to do things, so I'm always not happy with things. Because what are we using for doing requests? We are using execute request. We're using Typhus. Let's see if there's a different way. Typhus. We can do Typhus requests. Typhus jump. Making parallel requests. I want to just look at class examples. Potentially, but I don't see anything. These are just one-liners. Lib specs. Let me check over here real quick. Dun, dun, dun. All right, I thought there was an example to do class-based Typhus requests, but I don't want to. Okay, I don't want to worry about it right now. So this would be Azure text translator. So this class will be the Azure text translator. Let me go ahead and copy and paste this again. Azure text translator. And get rid of this. Doing a post request. Get rid of this example, or get rid of this code, get rid of this code, get rid of this code. Say get rid of it. There. Client ID. Get rid of all this. We don't need this. Execute request. Token header and request header. We'll modify this as things go on. Okay, so what's our base URL? This is translator. So this is our base URL. Go back. This is base URI. So we translate. We get the text. Base URI. This is now base URI. Is there any sub pathing we have to do? So it's just the base URI that we're doing the request to. So the URL is the base URI. So I can do this, move this down to here, base URI. Oh wait, base URL. Oh, never mind. And then it's actually, URL is actually translate. There we go. Okay, so what's next? So QS is, I don't know what that is. Oh, 2. Where is, for more information with endpoints, routes, and parameters, see this. Okay. Okay, QS is probably query string, actually. So let's do this, let's get rid of that. Let's go with this. So this is our query string. Our body of our payload. This is actually, this isn't param, this should be called options. That's more intuitive or more accurate. Execute request. Yeah, I called it option right there, but I didn't call it that there. So then our header is this. Content type application JSON is fine. Why is my formatter working, by the way? Format with. Is it because I need to save or something? Whatever. Client ID we don't need. Subscription key is the key that we were passing in that we generated earlier. What did we ended up calling it? We looked over here for, we followed the naming convention somewhere around here. We named it that. Let's put this in a comment. So the parameters are from to the given languages. Type, category, profanity action. Specifies how profanity should be treated in translations. Possible values are no action, marked or deleted. Do understand the ways treat profanity. See profanity handling, profanity marker. Specifies how profanity should be marked in translations. So we want to do this. So we want profanity filtering for our extension because it just makes things easier. So we're just doing blanket profanity filtering. Profanity action is marked. So action is quote marked. Profanity marker is asterisk. What is it set by default is what I wonder. I'm curious to see if we even need to. So it specifies if values marked. Possible values are asterisk. Asterisk is default. Okay, so we don't have to. We don't need to specify it. Okay, so profanity marked. So we're filtering for profanity. And we need to build the request header. We're not doing a token header right now. Request header is empty. And the next thing we're going to do is fetch the secret key that we're using for it. So I deleted the code that would fetch the example code. There we go. So this is the code that fetches it out of the environment. So credentials, forget. Azure, and then it's we namespace it under Azure, and then we did cognitive service key, or I guess hold on, it's Azure and then cognitive service key. This guy. F you stop that. Oh. No cog. Why isn't my gobbledygook working? There you go. Try to do that. Azure Cognitive Service key. And then we need to do UUID v4. So Ruby UUID v4. Can I guess I could just do secure random. UUID v4. Oh, here we go. Wait. I need to use your Weird. Oh, here we go. So digest UUID. Let's test this out real quick. So we have the v4. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so convenience method is secure random. So secure random does support UUID v4. So I can just do paste. Like so. Let's test this out. Test secure random UUID. Boom. All right. Excellent. Okay, let's see. So, oh, this is not the body. This is the query string. Let's see, post. So let's go to typhus again. No. Ruby. Query. Params? So I just had to pass in params instead of so. So this is the params. And then we still need to generate the body, which is this right here, the hello world. Which I'll just grab this. Fun employed, what's up, good idea code? Yes, fun employed. It's that time when you decide that you want to leave your job because your current job sucks. But hey, how's it going? Okay, so shift this over for attention. Same boat, man, really? When did that happen for you? Changing jobs September 6th, 16th? Oh, interesting. So you have a long tail of leaving the company? Or did you leave, like, what's the circumstance? You left already? You're going to do a slow transition? You can tell on HQ in 2 weeks? Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah. So if it's in 2 weeks, 2 weeks notice, everything, a month transition. Okay. That's really good. I mean, normally I would have a job lined up already, but I'm slowly looking for a job. I'm taking my time. I want to do some side project development and stuff like that before jumping back into the game. So, definitely want to take some self-development time. You have no choice? Yeah. Luckily, I have choice because we also have good savings. Been saving a lot of money, so I mean, I'm still going to yeah. So I'm okay. I'm okay for a month or two. So let's see. So then we do all the options. We send the request, execute request, and handle the response. What I want to do this time is I actually want to JSON parse the response. I'm a Ruby dev. I am a Ruby dev for years and years. So yeah, I know what I'm doing. Right now we're integrating, we're prototyping, creating translation using Azure's language translation, and we're creating a class right now that does it. That does the web request using this example that's in JavaScript. All right, let's see if this is gonna work. You do C# and Java? Nice. You hate the latter? I did Java 8 years ago, 9 years ago, for 2 years when I got out of college. Haven't done much of anything with. Well, I think the only thing I did Java with remotely recently, which was like 5 years ago, is when we were prototyping some stuff with Kafka, I think. We're doing something with Kafka and data, like before, like early serverless technologies and low latency stuff. Like, yeah. So Azure Text Translator is our class. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna call translate. We're actually not doing the text yet. We're not passing in any text, and let's see what happens. Oh, wrong number of arguments given. Go figure. Derp. Uh-oh. Alright, well. This is our first time running it, so whatever. Line 24. The request header. Da, 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 da. Okay, so this is not working. A spin, what's up, Juan? Alright, I need to go into super secret mode to investigate. I'm just not grabbing the environment variable correctly, I think. That's all it is. You involuntarily inherited two Java AngularJS web apps, and things break all the time. Oh. AngularJS is so like old AngularJS is pretty brutal to work with now, versus like what modern web technologies are you're able to use. It makes it super hard to maintain. Let's see. So Rails. Rails.env. Hold on. Okay, I know what I'm doing wrong. Because I scoped the keys based off of the environment. So I think that's what's going on here. To sim. Let me see Rails. Let me look this. Let me look up something real quick while I'm fiddling with this stuff. Rails env. I want to make sure that the way I'm doing this code is okay. That's a good description. I mean, everyone enjoys their frameworks, but and I know there's people that really enjoy the new Angular, and but like I can't, like I in my last job, they used old AngularJS and new Angular, but I still can't. I still don't enjoy it. Yeah, I ended up still not really enjoying it. It just was, I don't know. It seemed like a lot of boilerplate and stuff like that. Okay, so the way I'm doing it is an acceptable way to do it. So Rails env that, and then I do Azure, and then I can do colon Azure, and then I have to do this cognitive service key, like this. Oops. All right. So that is the long string of the way I access. I did a program in Angular 7. I can't get my head around the TypeScript. Okay, so before I was like kind of like about TypeScript, but recently, I mean, because of the job, I got familiar with TypeScript, and I did some TypeScript out of work, and I actually don't mind TypeScript. I actually kind of enjoy it. I mean, it can be a little bit difficult if you don't fully understand it or you're not using it properly, especially with Angular, because Angular has a lot of moving pieces, but TypeScript offers, why is my desktop being all weird? There we go. I just used to JavaScript. It's hard to make me learn it. I don't know the JavaScript, I think. So like the biggest difference is adding the typings to. You can go as advanced as you want, but when you're writing a web application, like let's say like a Node.js application, and you're writing it in TypeScript, it actually feels pretty nice because the methods you integrate with, or the responses, you can create interfaces for the responses or the typings for the methods you're using. So when you're actively doing development on there, it's kind of like self-documenting, so to speak. So you know when you receive this object in this method, or when you do this request and you receive a response, that this is what the payload would look like. So that's what makes it really powerful. Strongly typed versus dynamically typed. That's where it's debatable. Lesson for creativity. All right, let's do this, and then we do translate. Uh-oh. Oh wait, that's right. Because we're requiring again.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
Python or C sharp, I would take C sharp. I think I think strongly typed languages probably have way more benefit in in the workspace in a team setting for sure, because less like more rails, more guards, more less chance, like you say, quote unquote creativity, leads to less weird code, more hopefully leads to more maintainable code by using C sharp or other strongly typed languages. And builds fail and stuff like that if things don't stack up or types don't or data doesn't match up. More Rails, is that a bad Ruby on Rails pun? Sure, if you want it to be. We can make it a bad Ruby on Rails pun. Okay, so the request is failing. We need to figure out why. Here's the query string version 3.0 to da da da. I wonder if it's because this. Well, let's do this. Let's do the body. I think we did the same thing over here where we did this JSON. JSON generate. Whoops. I was just getting into repository pattern in C sharp. We had a guy that was hired who didn't last long and implemented a very bad repo pattern and left a bad taste in my mouth about it. I'm trying to do it in a sensible way. He did it in like in a unit or of work, which is fine, but he did some wacky stuff with it. That's interesting, and that sucks. Whoa. Yikes. Hey, that worked. We just needed to parse the body into JSON. Nice. That's horrible. I like updating the framework and was there did you guys have any like builds or CI process to prevent him from committing those changes into master, or is it just engineer trust, or is it more trust based engineering approach instead of like stonewalling? But look, we got a response back. So the detected language which was English, and it translated it translated to German, and it translated to Italian. It worked. Okay, now let's tweak this, and we're going to bring in text, the parameter. With a single branch. Gotcha. I mean, with smaller teams, smaller companies, it's more trust based. But still, it's like, dude, you got to run your tests before if you make major updates, right? Especially a framework update. Like so the job I left, all like one of the big tasks, one of the like it wasn't that big of a task, but it had a big impact. It would have a big impact. It was to add additional caching around a very important endpoint. So adding that caching could lead to stale data because the caching was on the appointments endpoint, where appointments would show up on the calendar, which is, and the scheduler is one of the most important parts of the application. And it was just around this chunk of code that generated the JSON objects. It didn't take that long to write the code. I mean, we looked at all the possible use cases and stuff, but I just basically wrapped the code and figured out what model updates would bust the cache and sent it to QA and made sure to tell QA, you need to test every single scenario in the scheduler. This. It took them 3 days to test the whole thing. Two one to 2.2. But still, it's like if you're doing updates, you have to do regression testing to at least run the unit tests locally, right? All right, so we have a class that does translations. So let's try to translate the word derp for fun. So it doesn't know how to translate the word derp, go figure. So just return back derp. So let's see. Let's do this. Let's do one of these sentences. Regression testing. Let's try that. So it translated regression and then in Italian test de regressione. I've never done unit testing until I made a web service in AWS Lambda function. Oh, really? Well, you gotta learn at some point or try it at some point, right? I feel like doing unit testing for a Lambda function is it's a lot easier, so you can actually test your Lambda function, right? Instead of having to do manual little calls to it all the time. Or I guess it depends if it's an API facing one. It was straightforward. Yeah, you just fill in the thing, you do the request. Like, there's no like all this framework to set up or whatever. Like, you just say the payloads you want and what your expectation, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to have an array of languages we're going to support. Let's look up the 2, so supported languages. But my client had an Excel spreadsheet that had a lot of permutations, and I was like, well, how did I make this? So I started out with unit testing, and I fell, and that fell really fast. All right. I want to look at the list of languages. Where's the list of supported languages? So accept language.
I feel the need. The need for speed.
Spider. Woo! The giggles. Thank you very much. Welcome to Goodness. Thanks for participating in chat. Really appreciate that. So welcome. All right, where is the dang? Okay, let's read this description very carefully. Specifies the language to output text. The target language must be one of the supported languages included in the translation scope. For example, to DE, translate to German. It's possible to translate to multiple languages simultaneously by repeating the parameter in the query string, for example, to translate to German and Italian. Okay. Now we need to find the supported languages. So here's scope. Comma-separated list of names of groups and languages returned. Allow group names and translations. Dictionary, no scope given. Scope translation to decide which supported language is appropriate in your scenario. See the description of response body. I don't want to use an API. I just want detect dictionary lookup. Yeah, that's what I ended up clicking on. So yeah, that's exactly what I clicked on. Say watch. Supported languages, boop. And then we go here, and then it just gives you this, for instance, use FR. So, okay, let's set the languages. Use parameters to define the language in the names return. The language is specified providing the well-formed BCP 47 language tag. For instance, use FR to request French or use ZH Hunt to request Chinese traditional. Okay. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to use the BCP formatting for the language codes. I don't know the BCP formatting for everything off the top of my head. Language codes. That's not it. And dash. So this is the spec. All right, so we have some in here. So translate to English. We're going to translate to German. Translate to Chinese, which is ZH. What's the more dominant? What's the official language of China? Does anyone know off the top of their head? Yeah, so China has multiple languages, but I believe there is one official dialect for China. I could be mistaken, but I guess we can look it up. Official Chinese dialect is Mandarin. Which is written in traditional. Okay. So Mandarin is traditional. So ZH. Here we go. So ZH. So I thought we needed to do any other prefixes, but ZH is good enough. We're doing Spanish, ZH for Chinese. Da, da, da. I need to find for Korean and Japanese. I guess we can just do a search. Korean language is Ko. K-O. Japanese is JP. Cool. So we have English, German, Chinese, Spanish, Korean, Japanese. Someone explicitly requested Russian, so we'll do Russian also. Are you? Actually, I am also curious about the chat trend. So, Twitch chat translator. So we know InstaFluff is our is another person on the Live Coders team, and he built this extension that does translation. So he supports Czech, Dutch, German, Deutsch, English, Spanish, French, Japanese, and Korean. So is this going to be? No. This is actually, we're adding in support for the closed captioning. So we built the closed captioning extension and pipeline, the whole thing actually. So this right here we're looking at is actually the server side code or the server code, and we are going to be adding in what you see here, language translation. So we're going to be prototyping this in this channel. So we'll try to do these collection of languages. Maybe we could try to contact Twitch about the top languages that are used. Let's see. Actually, let's see about browsing categories. Filter by language. Arabic, Bulgarian, Chinese. I mean, there's tons and tons of languages. And we need to figure out what the top ones are. I guess what we could do is just see from our Google Analytics how things look. In terms, so Google Analytics is only going to tell us who that uses it, like what regions they're from, the demographics. We'll do it for the past month. United States, UK, Canada, Australia. So Germany, actually, so Czech. Maybe that's why he added Czech. So let's. Czech, French, Japanese, Brazil, Spanish. So maybe we should cut these out. So that's CZ. Yeah, so instead of Russian, we're going to do Czech. And then I guess we'll leave out Chinese. I was thinking Chinese, but if you think about it, I don't think there are a lot of Chinese streamers, so we'll leave that out. So that makes sense. So we have English, German, Spanish, Korean, Japanese, Czech, and we'll do French also. And then I think Brazil's Portuguese, which I imagine is PR. Not with the national fire they have. Yeah, I'm not sure if this covers Russian or German or whatever it is. So CZ PR. Portuguese. 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 PT. PT. Portuguese. Yeah, so we'll leave out Chinese. So good. So these ones is a good collection of languages. The thing is, we have to be careful. Is we might want to include a whole ton of languages because that's cost, right? We need to, even though I do have credits to use, we still want to manage the cost and not go all like hog wild with trying to translate for every language under the sun. We just want to target the ones that have the biggest impact. So let's do, let's translate and see. Oh yeah, forgot. But duh. I need to use the language. I need to actually use the constant. And reload the context and then do this. Uh-oh. Line 32. Hold on. Let's go back. I don't think we did any major changes here. We just did that. So that worked. Let's reload. We're gonna remove English real quick. Interesting. So, if it looks like if you're trying to translate it. Oh wait, I'm not. I'm like interesting. I didn't use the array. I was like, oh, it still worked. No, we forgot to do this. Languages. Let's see if this works now. Nope. Okay, so this languages is for whatever reason is not. It's not liking that. Is it because one of these is not valid? It has to be because one of these is not valid, is my thought. Oh, Japanese is JA? Okay. Nah, it's a fine. It's an easy mistake. That is still not correct. All right, we'll do process of elimination here. Let's go with this portion right here. And we'll just go a little bit at a time. Okay, that worked. So we were able to do German, Spanish, Korean, Japanese. Now let's expand that to French. We got French. And the last one we were gonna do was Portuguese. Oh yeah, we were gonna do Czech also, right? I forgot. How do you spell Czech Republic? There it is. What language do they speak? Official language is Czech. Go figure. CS. That's probably what it was. Let's go back to our Google Analytics. I closed that real quick. I want to make sure that it was the Czech Republic that was our big hit. Or another one. Yeah. Languages. Okay, so we'll do for another month again. And yeah, so Czech. Germany's pretty hot, yeah, so France. Okay. So CS is Czech, okay. And the last one was going to be so Germany, Spanish, Korean, Japanese, French, Czech, and Portuguese, which was PT. Was it PR? It was PT. It was PT. Yeah, yeah. We originally wrote PR, which is an easy mistake to make, but it's PT. And there. Okay. So we got a translation. We get the payload with the detected languages, with detected language, and then it does the translation. And okay. So now let's include. I want to see if it's actually going to translate English too. I want to see if it includes it in the payload. Yeah, so it does English too. I wonder if it if they charge you for English, because it's already English, right? So do they charge you for trying to process English? But we have it. So we officially have a class that will translate the text. And look how fast this was. 0.4 milliseconds. That's quick. I like that. So we have progress. We have our class. It's really simple. It just does the translation, just the request, response back with the object. So we can take this response object and then we can parse it out. So we can go. So it looks like the format's a little weird. So count. There's only one item in there, which is the detected languages. So if we get the first one, we get this detected languages, and then from there we have the translations, which is an array. So first, and then we do detected languages. Language. Oh. Detected language. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, so that tells you the detected language. We don't care about that. We just care about the translations. Translations. Boom. And that's an array. We iterate through that, and we send it on its merry way, which would be right here in the pub sub message. So we would do something like this. We would call the Azure translator. So Azure translator dot translate, and we would send it the final text. This would respond back with the translated data. translations. And then we would parse this, so basically this. So it'd be translations. I'm wondering if this should, I wonder if this should be if we should do anything special with, like, with the, make this a class instead of a static, yeah, make the Azure Text Translator an actual class versus just this one method, so that it could return back the payload instead of us parsing it. And get translations. Yeah, I like that idea. I'm always on the fence about stuff, so results. Usually I do, in my JavaScript, I always say results or response. I usually do this, response. And then I'll do response dot first. Dot first. And then, which is kind of weird to do this, because if this, we need to do, let me see something here. So this is going to raise an error. So we want to do a try. Begin. Rescue. Want to be careful here. This does raise an exception. Azure Translator. I guess we can just do a catch for now. And then exception. Why is this complaining at me? Useless variable. Rails dot logger dot error. And then we would modify translations. And then we want to modify the message so that message contains the see, we can naively just throw in so we can do one of two things. We could naively just throw in this array into there, so we can do translations is equal to translations like this. Or we could process this so that we're passing in an object of keyed by the language. So it would look something along the lines of translations, and then it'd be an object, and then we would be keyed off of pt equal, and then blah 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 blah. Yes, blah 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 blah. Because right now, if you pass it in, it's just an array. Whoop. Just an array with objects, And if we needed to look up a language on the front end, we would have to iterate through this array to find the 2 and make an array of objects. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about going to, which is why I was thinking about switching this to being a class so that it would format. So we'd call request or translate, and then it won't return. It'll return back whether it's a success or not, or we can just have a presenter. Maybe we can just do a presenter class too. That will format it. Because this is already an array of objects. The languages is already an array of objects with a 2 key. Yeah. Technically a dictionary with potato equal potato. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think I want to try to do. I want to generate a dictionary um, that the key is the language. So instead of an array in the end, the front end would have to iterate through the array of the translations to find Korean. Um, the translations attribute is a dictionary, and all they have to do is key for Korean and get that language right away. So I have these presenter classes. So I can make a presenter for yes, exactly. That's exactly it. So I've been trying out this presenter pattern in this application where we have a dedicated class that will. So basically, I have the processing done on. Yeah. And so I off. So instead of offloading that processing to the front end, I do it on the back end. Instead, I format everything and convert it to a key value pair instead of just vanilla giving it the payload and offloading it onto the front end. Because I have to write the front end anyway to do any processing, yeah. And I also don't want to write it on the front end. And also, I guess another argument for doing the processing on the server is it makes the front end less brittle to API, third-party API changes, right? I can easily deploy changes to the server. I cannot easily deploy changes to the front end. I have control over my deploy processes for the server. On Twitch's side, I don't. I have to. It's like an app store. I have to bundle it and submit it. They have to review it, and then I have to, and then I can release. Yeah, so I think we'll just make a presenter and we'll just pass the. We'll format it there. So the translator, Azure Text Translator, doesn't care about the formatting. We'll make a class that handles the formatting. Yeah, like we're on the same page. Okay, so let's do this. Let's create a new presenter class. Let's make the translation. Azure translation presenter. And then we just modify this. So this takes the base class. So what we do here is do Azure translation presenter, or it takes in the response from Azure and message. So we take this. So dot new. And look at the base model. Oh yeah, this is doing based off of I need to do the collection. Base model presenter channel. We're getting close to running out of time too. So we definitely still want to do the 2 hash. So we pass in the response. But this isn't using the model presenter, this is using the collections presenter. Yeah, you lost. Yeah, this presenter pattern, I'm still feeling out on how I want to do this. This is just like I always like to feel out new design paradigms, but basically these presenter classes take in the raw data or the object and then can do convert it, do the 2 hash or whatever presentation. Converts it to whatever presentation it needs to be to be, whether it's a hash object or another object, something like that. That's what these presenter classes are for. The thing that's weird about it is that it's a base model presenter. I'm not sure. Model's a little deceptive. This is why I'm getting kind of thrown off, because model, in this case, this isn't a model, this is a response, right? But whatever. Let's what we're gonna do is we still have this hash object, and what we want to construct, okay, we want to construct a hash object. So we have this self. Self is whatever we pass in as the response. Self dot first is the data. We'll go one step at a time. And then translations is the data translations. Is that like an inheritance or implementation? It's a small inheritance from this class right here. So this base model presenter takes in a model and then extends simple. It's extending this class simple delegator. So we have the translations. What we need to do next is we need to map over these translations or iterate through these translations. So language. I don't know. I'm going to say result. Result is an empty object. Is an empty. Oh wait, I can do a hash. Honestly, like this. So each. Hate it when it does that. Wish it was a little bit more intelligent. Language. So the language is language dot language. Fat fingering everything. Say language 2, and then it's equal to language text. And then finally, we return this result. Dictionaries, efficiency. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, actually, I want to make a test for this. We have like 15 minutes. Do I have tests for this? For any of these? I don't. But I want to make a test anyway. Creating a new folder. And we're doing it in the wrong directory. Presenters. And we'll just copy and paste one of these so we don't have to deal with a bunch of boilerplate. Azure translations presenter respect Darby. Azure translations presenter translations presenter. Yeah, we're making sure that we're testing for custom blacklist words, so we're blacklisting screencast. That's for a future feature where we allow a broadcaster to specify custom blacklisted words for the profanity filtering. It should parse response to hash. So expect Azure translations presenter dot new, passing in response or data to hash to equal hash dot we'll test for German, and it should equal. We'll use this as our testing payload. So let's actually see if this test will run. Oh wait, hold on. We still need to copy and paste a couple more things. So we need to actually copy this whole response payload in. So let data equal this. Oh god. All the way to the end. Oh no, went too far. Yeah. I didn't need to do the quotes. Our linter's getting very angry at us right now. Well, we'll worry about what the linter thinks in a little bit. It's the spacing and the arrows and the yeah. I mean, the arrows are valid, but they're old syntax. See, missing a space. There you go. It's complaining about spaces. We're just running specs in general. I'm not sure if it's going to pick up the new test class. Oh, it passed the first time the test. Look. We got exactly what we wanted from the test. I mean, typically I would have written the test first, but we're short on time, so we wrote the code first and then the test. Let's go ahead and let Rubocop do its thing real quick. Rubocop. Adron I. Hey, thank you very much, Adron Hall. Oh wait, hold on.
Red alert. We are being raided. Batten down the hatches. Grab the emotes. We are under attack.
Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for the raid, Adron Hall. Thank you. Hopefully you had a good stream. What were you doing today? And welcome everyone else. Welcome to the Goose Nest. Glad to have you here. Vroom. Code runs right the first time. I know. And then having tests to solidify that. Oh, it's a rage. Look at those Michael Jolly emotes. Terraform stuff. Simple man. See Ruby, give a follow. Thank you, Cusco man. Thank you very much. That and thank you for the follow. Glad you liked the Ruby. You're looking at the Ruby and liking it. Yeah, it feels good when you have a passing test right away without doing anything. Although we have like format. I wish this would just auto format, but my auto formatter's not working. There's the goose man. I know, I'm making sure that this project is, for the most part, decently tested. We're still hovering around 80% code coverage. It dipped down. Oh, because we added some new functionality. We added the, we need to add tests for the new class, the text translator. So, what we're doing today is we're prototyping, we're writing out the code to do language text translations. So the closed captioning extension that you see on screen is what we built. It's been an ongoing project among other things. And I wanted to take the time to start prototyping actual, converting the closed captioning to other languages. So in the short time we had today, after 3 weeks of using Jest and JavaScript, I'm missing RSpec. RSpec is a beautiful testing framework. I love it. It's so simple. But yeah, so what we did today was we created this class. We went through the example that was on the Azure website for the cognitive services, and we implemented this simple class to do text translations. And then we were playing around with it, making sure that it worked, so it works. And then we created a presenter class that will in turn take that response and convert it to what we would publish out for in our pub sub messages to the UI. So we added some good code that we need to test. So we're gonna have to do that later since we dropped our test coverage by a lot. We're gonna have to do a testing stream soon. Let me close this. Let me close that. So yeah, we have passing tests. We just have angry Rubocop, which we have to resolve because we have a CI process on. We have a GitHub Actions that will get angry at us if we don't follow this. I just wish that the formatter would actually format. I have no. What's up, Jason? I have no clue what's up with my formatter right now. It's VS Studio. Visual Studio Code doesn't come with. I've always had struggles. I've always been on the struggle bus with VS Code and its liking of Ruby. I mean, I have Rubocop, I have a formatter, and it's supposed to be using Rubocop to do formatting. It was working the other day. Here, let's try. Oh, that worked that time. So not using Rubocop, but using Ruby formatter worked. What? Okay. Okay. Well, we got rid of our Rubocop errors, I think. We just have this really long line now. So it took a little bit of configuration to finally figure out how to get VS Code to play well with Rubocop. One of the ways I was finally able to get it to work nicely is I'm actually using um, VS Code remote. So I have my VS Code connected to my Docker container. So you can see right here a dev container. So this is I'm actually developing within the Docker container, and I have Rubocop in there. So I have a nice little isolated environment in there, and Rubocop's installed and all that type of stuff. And it works. It seems to work that way. Once they did the VS Code remote, that's when it worked. What operating system am I using? I'm using Windows right now. I usually switch between Windows and Mac, but right now I'm using Windows, and I use WSL2 right now for development. But this application is Dockerized, so I'm actually developing in the Docker container, so I can just easily do cross-platform development. So personally, in Docker Node, I use RVM ISDF and trying to do at least a little isolation. You only move the JavaScript. The safest, honestly, the safest way to okay. So it's if you have a Windows Pro, using Docker is really nice because you can just do your Ruby and JavaScript development within the Docker container. That makes it even easier. But with WSL2 also, that is a full. So original WSL1 was a sub simulated Linux kernel, but now with WSL2, things like RVM and RB and EMV will work just fine. RVM still does work in WSL. Uh, yeah, Windows Subsystem for Linux. So I would try it out in WSL on the Windows Subsystem for Linux. Just go to you can go to the I forget if you have to activate developer mode in the Windows settings, and then you just go and download a distro from the Windows Store. I use the Ubuntu distro, and I actually use WSL for my JavaScript application development. So React, when I'm developing React, Vue, whatever, running any npm command, I do that from WSL. And yeah, once WSL2 is officially out, because it's only in the preview builds, that's going to be head and shoulders way better. And you can move over to using Windows for development more easily. Yeah, it's yeah. So there's still So with the original WSL, there's still a couple gotchas in there, but it's for the most part good. You can use RVM. When it gets to the point where it requires native libraries that are to Linux, that's when things kind of break down. But brew is available also. There is so you could use so if you're on a Mac, you know all about Homebrew. Linux Brew is Linux Brew is available on WSL also. So Windows Subsystem for Linux. So if you like Homebrew, you can use Homebrew on Windows through in the Windows Subsystem for Linux. I think the caveat to that is that this is still in beta, so it's slow sometimes. Like getting packages and running the installer and all that type of stuff is slower, but it's there. Let's see. I think with that, we're calling it a day. We're going to comment this out for now. So we successfully created our Azure text translator class that goes and does a request to Azure and translates a body of text that is in one language and translates it into German, Spanish, Korean, Japanese, French, Czech, Portuguese, and English. Is the project I'm working on open source? No. This one isn't. The UI for it is the React code that I have for the front end for this that's hosted on Twitch. That one you can see. For the server, I didn't make that open source because there's some stuff like it's very sensitive information. I don't want to take the risk of like exposing anything and exposing the server and exposing my users to malicious attacks. So I wanted to make that one private. But I do develop it on stream, just don't make the entire repo available. Yeah, so we did that, and then we created a presenter class that will convert it to the payload, the format that we want the payload to be in. So that is it for me. I'm gonna head out to a meetup and nerd it up with other and say hello to them and stuff like that. It's actually my first time going to this Ruby meetup. Now that I'm fun employed, I actually have time to do things that I've been wanting to do. So instead of just sitting around on my butt playing video games all day, I am enriching myself. Thank you very much, Giggles, and thanks everyone for hanging out and stopping by. So Cusco Man, thank you very much for follow. Adron Hall, thank you very much for that raid. Jimmy, thank you very much for that follow. I'm not sure how I didn't see that. Weird. R2AU. How good are you at video games? I win games. I kick butt for the most part. Although I suck when I stream. You might see some of our interns there? Cool. Looking forward to that. Jason. Yeah, thanks for stopping by also, Jason. Yeah, thanks everyone. I will be back tomorrow. Good excuse. I can defeat little children. That's what matters. Insta fluff. I'm doing the Azure thing too, but you've probably been lurking also. I'm gonna have to look at your code for how you do your strategy for caching the already translated strings. Look right here, right here. Actually, let me do this. Right there. Text, Azure Text Translator. Translate this. All right, well, actually translate this. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. And then yeah, so we got that part down. We're gonna start working on we're gonna have to work on the UI next, and also the caching. It's on Comfy Translate. If you want to see it, the Azure Translate stuff is on GitHub as well. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna look at your caching strategy for what you do. Because I use Redis also, so I'm probably gonna store the finalized strings in a Redis. I'm probably gonna do the same thing you did, where you just store some strings. I'll take a look, double check, but yeah, to reduce some costs. Yeah, so we're both doing the thing with the code. I'm doing translations for German, Spanish, Korean, Japanese, French, Czech, Portuguese, and I guess English again. One thing, I don't know if you know this answer. You probably won't, but I should probably try to start contacting the Azure team about this, is if you say you want to translate it to English, but it's already in English, it does return back English, but do they charge you for translating to English if the source language is already English. You get what I mean? It does get charged? No. I might have to figure this out later. Darn. Okay. Well, we'll probably have to come up with we'll probably have to make this a little bit more sophisticated then. If that actually if it ends up being an issue. We'll have to like do source language and then chop off one of these guys if it's coming from one of these languages. Okay.